This is Mistakes in the Making.
Well, my name is JesseJames Locorriere, and I'm going to talk to you about mistakes. Actually, I'm going to talk to you about lessons. I've been acting for 40 years, and I saw a funny quote the other day that said I experience things differently, or I was something about not being responsible for certain things in your life because how could I be responsible? I was different ages. But the lessons, I look for those. I mean, I never look for mistakes. And a lesson I learned recently, and it's something, and again, I emphasize being an actor for 40 years. Being, as everybody knows that is an actor anyway, it's a very special feeling. And you know when it's special. You know when that moment is. First, it's the moment you connect with the other actor, the first connection you have. So whether it's in a class or in something. There's another moment. That moment is when someone else sees your work and then encourages you. And that might be a teacher. That might be, another student or another actor. Somebody in a play, might be somebody you have a crush on, who knows? So those two moments are vital, I think, because those are basically the spark. I mean, you can have the feeling of wanting to go to class, but you very well might go to class or you do something and it might be terrible, and somebody might not be shy and tell you it's terrible. They might just flat, So you risk that. But so those special moments, like a drug or like anything else you want, you're trying to recreate. Now, trying to recreate that in your life, whether being an actor, well, I'll just cut to the chase. The lesson that I learned was that I'm not special. Now, I'll backtrack. When I was younger and I found acting to be the thing that I wanted to do, and then the thing that I ended up being good at, and then the thing that I ended up turning into a, semi-career. When I found that, I thought, and then I got that encouragement, I thought I had a superpower. And I thought that superpower was going to, without sounding I thought that superpower was going to be the thing that saved me for my entire life, because at least I have an artistic outlet. I have something that I'm good at. I'm right. Like I want to do it. So I always thought it was going to be the thing that would get me out of possibly everything in my real life. As long as I acted and as long as I made money doing it, as long as people hired me, as long as those wheels kept turning, it was going to be the thing that saved me from everything, saved me from terrible experiences I have with people, or terrible experiences just in general, or anything that I need, a distraction from. And as I've gotten older, it has definitely not been the thing that keeps me. I'm definitely more distracted now than ever. And it doesn't, knowing that it's just a thing I do. And then on top of it, seeing many other people who are equally, if not more talented than I am, and other actors, cropping up and sprouting up all around, because it's considered a viable employment or a great side hustle. Most people's I love when people succeed in their side hustle more than I've succeeded in my career. That's when I know maybe I should have just treated it as a side hustle. I'd have a really lucrative side hustle if I don't know if I have a great career, but I certainly have a wonderful side hustle. The side hustle is to nothing else. The side hustle is to me being a dad. Most recently, I am discovering it's almost kind of like not a rebirth, but I'm having a regeneration of what I mean in this this business and what this business means in me. And I say business because that's what it is now. It's really not much of the acting I love, between action and cut, I'm great. It's between cut and action that I'm like, what? And the acting part is not the part that you get to do the most, So the business part of it, I'm having a regeneration phase right now, where because of coming out of I wouldn't say it was a dark epiphany I had about me not being special or it not feeling special, but it because again, I realized, well, I'm still going to do this. I'm still, whether or not I have to go get a job at a warehouse or something, but I'm going to keep doing this. And so in order to look on myself, especially with fresh eyes, and look on the business with fresh eyes, look where I fit in it. But I got really introspective about what it is I do. And I was talking to a friend of mine earlier today, and I said, what this pandemic did is I think it did for a lot of people, whether they realize it or not, is it made us all realize that whatever we had in this moment is what we had for the rest of our lives. Physically, whatever you had, wherever you lived. When we went into lockdowns and that all started happening and everybody started, whatever you had was, and it was a pretty good, I think, gauge of like where, if you couldn't face that, if you couldn't face where you lived or faced who you lived with or who you had in your life, because a wake-up call, career. I mean, this is why there's so many people who left their jobs, who got fired, obviously. I mean, there's all that. But there are people, certainly the stories of people who just like, I don't want to do this job anymore. And they left and they started doing something else, and trust me, I had all those thoughts. It's funny that like during a pandemic, I was like, well, I thought of a million things I'd rather be doing. But then I thought, but none of those jobs nobody's working right now at those jobs because we're in the middle of a pandemic. I don't have to find reasons. I know why I'm an actor and why I continue to do it. Because at this age, like I said earlier, I'm at this age in my life. I just turned 51 a couple or 2 weeks ago, 10 days ago. And, I don't have to have these huge life-changing things to have happen or thought. I don't have to have life-changing thoughts in order to change what I'm doing. It could be just as simple as like, I also thought of another thing too. I've been really introspective. The Christmas thing, because I'm usually a dark person during Christmas. And I don't mean dark like I'm intentionally trying to be dark. Holidays just have never cheered me up. And what really compounds that feeling is watching those people who can be really cheery and happy and they celebrate and that makes me, I'm so envious of that. Envy is a strong word, but I'm really like, I go, oh, I wish I could just do that. But I was taking a shower the other day and I was standing in the shower thinking, and I thought, wow, I think I now know why. Because I was thinking, I was wrapped in the envy part of it, wrapped in the end, I don't want to feel that way towards people who are nice and cheery and wanting to spread joy. Why do I want to feel that way? And I realized where that stemmed from, and it stemmed from because I'm envious of these people because their superpower is that they do it because if they don't do that, they're going to feel like an asshole like I do. And I went, oh, and it's the same. It's kind of the same thing I felt like with acting. It's the same, like, oh, well, duh. Like, I have, and so the lesson I learned is that it to have something that I held on to, that I've had for so long, has been such a part of my life, to have used that as, whether it's a crutch of some sort or, it's a legitimate crutch. Trust me, I've needed it, but I don't think it's a crutch anymore, I think is what I'm trying to say. It's no longer that. It's not an identity issue for me really anymore. I don't need to be labeled an actor. I don't need, there are a lot of things that I used to, I wouldn't say require, but I think kind of came with the being of an actor, that you just kind of assume like, oh yeah, I do this now because I'm an actor, or I do this now, or I say this now, or I feel I'm supposed to feel this way because I'm an actor. And I've been through all of them, and some of them are quite legitimate, and some of them are really legitimate for certain times. I think they've been legitimate in my career. But the one that has always got me was the one where it's like, well, I'm special. Nobody can do what I do. But when faced with like a global thing like we're in right now, I don't know. It helped me. It helped me realize like I'm not. Acting was my Superman identity to my Clark Kent, and now as Clark Kent, I'm realizing I don't need the Superman part of it, I think is what I'm trying to say. I don't require it. It doesn't. There isn't a part of me that feels like I have to constantly be. 2 years ago, I didn't know if anybody was going to care about actors anymore. I was trying to figure out like, well, how serious is this shit, and how weak is this fan? I didn't know if and I went back to work. I worked on a couple shows, and that was nice. And it, I can't say it didn't feel like a lot of people just kind of like going through the motions of not going through the motions. I mean, we made a legitimate show. I mean, it was a Marvel show, for Christ's sake, and an episode of The Walking Dead. So it wasn't small potatoes, but it was still almost kind of like, well, what else are we going to do? We're going to sit around and that I like sitting around. I didn't have a problem with sitting around, but I also enjoy working. I don't like working under the conditions that we're in right now. Things are already stressful and enough when you're making a film or making a show, and there's just it adds another tension. This business has gotten so serious for me. I invested so much of my identity in who I was as a person and who I was to the world, in the identity of being an actor, and not even knowing what that identity was. But as I got older, you hear the rumors of what other people think actors are. Oh, you guys are great liars. Oh, you guys are cheaters. Oh, you guys are this, you're that, the other thing. And you hear all these bald-faced, kind of reactions to it. And it is that for people. But, I chose to do this for my life. And, I never want to move backwards. And I think I'm moving in a forward direction. I feel good. I feel like I've overcome something that it wasn't weighty, but I knew that I would have to shake feeling responsible for the identity, and that's cool. I like that. That's where I'm at with it.
You've been listening to Mistakes in the Making. If you have your own mistake that you've made while in the film industry and you want to let others know so they don't make the same mistake, reach out to us at contact@bonsai.film and we'll take it from there. You can also reach out to us on social media at _Bonsai Creative on Instagram and Twitter, and you can search for us on Facebook and YouTube by searching for Bonsai Creative. You can also visit us at our website where we have industry insights and links to all of our podcasts and so much more at www.bonsai.film. And thank you for listening.